Hey everybody. So recently I got a new gunpla kit of the Calibarn gunpla from Witch from Mercury. Hello, Jasmine. Uh, which I got to put together. We also got this new rack that is for putting the different like slats on. This thing is a lifesaver. God, it's so much easier to work with the different plates just in order. Each of the little trays is labeled too, like A, B, C, D, so you can kind of keep them separate. It just made this whole process so much easier as opposed to just having them all stacked on top of each other like I had been previously. You won't see that; it's all out of frame this whole time, but just know that that's making this whole process go so much faster. But this kit is lovely. It's another HG or high grade kit. It's the same as the um, what was it, Elfrith Prologue. The first kit that we ever did was the same size. It has these lovely rainbow patterned stickers and pieces, which if you're caught up on Witch from Mercury, then you're familiar with the mode that's in. There's actually an option we'll have later on, particularly with the stickers, of whether you want it to like be in rainbow mode or not, and that's such a silly question to ask me. So of course it's in rainbow mode, and it probably will always be. Um, but yeah, having the little plates sort of this is me putting the plates away and out of frame so that they're not just in a unruly pile. It's lovely. Highly recommend it. Uh, it's a shame that I only knew about it now because I honestly don't know how many more of these kits we're gonna do. But we're going to start with the head as usual and just kind of work our way down from there. But yeah, this is the sticker sheet, and there's essentially duplicates of most of the stickers that go on the main frame itself, at least on the front of the frame, so that you can have, like, you could have two different versions, I guess, if you wanted to take the whole kit apart um, and have one version in not in full activation mode and one version in activation mode. And I, of course, went with rainbow activation mode, which is kind of the big climactic moment of the series. Not to get too deep into spoilers, but it's just, rainbow mode is the gay robot saves the world. It's great. It's highly recommend this series because it's just so dang good. The headpiece for this one involved so many more like actually different colored pieces of plastic than we had worked with before. Most of the previous kits I'd worked from were just like just gray and white. This one was like four different colors just to form the head, which was interesting. That was just before even putting the stickers. So this is the first time that they had the option of like the green or the normalized, and then there's the pink, which is for activation mode. So of course I go. You give me an option for pink, I'm always going to go pink. I also got a new a tool, which is this tiny little kind of bent tweezers, which is making the sticker applications. I hadn't really bothered with stickers on the earlier kits because my fingers are kind of is squat and round, and the stickers will just end up sticking to me and not to the kit. And these kind of narrow little angled tweezers make the really give me a chance to get that was me trying to show off the new like goggles to the camera, which it refused to focus on. Um, but the new tweezers really help with the sticker applications, really bring it into the realm of possibility at all, honestly. Even with the tweezers, the stickers are so small. Which I guess is by virtue of being an HD kit. I don't know if the like MG and RG kits being larger are a bit more manageable, or if they just have more stickers and thus are also full of like little tiny ones. But it was not worth even trying to do before, and now it was at least doable and ultimately worth it because the stickers were a big part of why I wanted this kit for the color coding and the rainbow mode that I keep alluding to, because it's just Calibarn is a cool design. It's kind of a variant on the Ariel and the Elfrith, so they're all kind of variations or I guess evolutions of the same design throughout the series. Calibarn has one really like I think neat evolution that will come up at the very end of the whole thing. But before that, the coloring on the activated mode is such a key like important piece, and it doesn't stand out super well on the webcam, I'm sorry to say, but like in person, the holographic rainbow coloring is very striking. So yeah, was very happy with this kit. But yeah, it takes a while to get the very classic Gundam helmet. There's a word for it. It what is it? Kabuto, I think, is the because it's based on essentially a particular style of samurai helmet, which is itself like named after the word for beetle in Japanese. I think. Credit to Bad Road for reminding me of that. Uh, I think that's the deal, and it's the little like the beam antenna. In this case, are meant to evoke beetle antenna. So it's a bug. You got a bug helmet, which is just such a neat note. But it goes back all the way to the like Amuro Ray's kind of original design, and I like that this is evocative of that. And they've been pretty consistent with that for like whatever the main suit is in pretty much every series, which is yeah, it's a neat note. But yeah, this build was fairly similar to the Elfrith build for most of the run. Obviously, they're similar designs. I like that for whatever reason on this design, it's also got kind of a thicker base. I don't mean in terms of the stand. I mean like literally the hips on down are just thicker than a lot of the other like models are, because a lot of the other ones just have these kind of plank kind of legs. Even the Choo Choo's Demi Trainer has these kind of like stick legs, like a Lego minifig kind of a thing, and they make it a little bit difficult to pose, and also can throw off kind of the weight on the stand. This design having thick thighs, there's no other way to put it, makes it honestly balance a lot better, and also makes it just feel better in the posing. Yeah, at least I wasn't worried I was gonna like snap any of the parts off when manipulating it, which was yeah, it was nice and an unexpected perk. So I think this will probably end up being maybe like the penultimate build, because I've got this is the last suit from Witch from Mercury, which is it's a complete series. So barring any ovas that come out, fingers crossed, there aren't any additional designs from this series that I'm likely to pick up builds for, assuming that they don't do like little cute builds or things like that. But none of the other I've gotten all the ones that I really wanted to build models of at this point from G Witch. And we built the Death Scythe, which was phenomenal. It was a great kit from Gundam Wing. And the only other one that I've seen recently that even made it onto my list is that Bandai recently put out a series of kits that are specifically using that like translucent plastic from like the mid to late 90s as such a transparent like nostalgia cash grab, and damn it, it's kind of working. Because it's also priced reasonably, which is an obnoxious like 2 for 1, because they didn't just like jack up the prices through the roof. It's still priced the same, and they've specifically got a like Endless Wall Swing Zero model kit with the translucence to it and the kind of ghostly effect of it. So I might get Duo Boyfriend and just get Hero's mech and build it and put the two of them next to each other, and that might be my last kit. But at some point, I need to just be like, no, we can't just keep building kits forever. That way lies madness. But this was a lovely kit. This was one that I wanted to grab before I was all done, just because the particular scenes around Calibarn in G Witch mean so much. Same reason I picked up Choo Choo's Demi Trainer, because it's such an important moment in the series. And yeah, Calibarn. Oh my god, what a great moment! I want to get into some major like last episode spoilers for Witch from Mercury here. So if you want to avoid spoilers for that series, tune out for the next 5 minutes or so. I'll put chapter breaks in the video when this goes up, so you'll be able to just skip right ahead. And obviously, I'm giving lots of forewarning here before I dive into it. All right, so we'll get into the spoiler territory right about now as I finish the torso here. So Calibarn, for those who've seen the series, obviously already know this, or those who are just hearing me talk about it and don't mind the spoilers. Um, Kind of the whole deal is that for most of the series, Suletta, our protagonist, doesn't have to worry about the kind of backlash of piloting a Gundam that has killed so many pilots when they go past a certain permit score, a certain level of like synchronicity. Hi, Arthur. Yes, baby. With their machines. And I don't have to get into all the reasons as to why to talk about this, but long story short, she has to give up Ariel for the show's final act because of that reason. But she finds out that there is essentially a clone Gundam that's been made, and that's Calibarn, which is why it looks so similar, but it's not quite the same, and it doesn't run on the same piloting system. It runs on the kind of classic Gund format, which means that in order to pilot it, Suletta is going to be subject to the exact same dangers that any Gundam pilot would be. And she's kind of uniquely good at the thing because anime protagonist, but she's still like she's going from being immune to the effects of this stuff to deeply in danger if she even pilots this thing. But big damn hero moment. So she pilots the thing and puts herself through just immense strain. We actually see in the like kind of epilogue of the series that she may have left herself with like a literal lifetime disability just from a few hours of piloting Calibarn. But it all works out in the end, and the power of gay Gundam genuinely does save everything, and it's delightful, and the whole scene of using the Gundam and the importance of how Suletta uses the Gundam and just the choice to take the risk to use it is so good and so important and so beautifully written, and it's become easily my favorite series in the franchise, which, considering how much I like the original, is very impressive. And I'm still working my way through the handful that I haven't seen. I haven't seen Unicorn. I haven't finished Zeta. I finally watched Iron Blooded Orphans, and I've talked about this a little bit. I'm not gonna yuck anybody else's yum. It's not. I don't understand what the kind of lionization of that one is all about. It's fine. It's fine. There's some interesting ideas. It certainly starts off strong, and then for me, it almost immediately backs off some of its ideas, and then kind of meanders back to them later, and then I don't need to go into a whole review of it. The point is, G-Witch is phenomenal, and I also don't feel like we need like more of it, but I hope that it inspires a similar wave of writing in the future. I know that we're getting like a new, I think Gundam Seed or something like that series. So it'd be interesting to see if that comes back around, or if we get other series with a similar kind of vibe. And there's another one that I think is based on a Xeon team during the 1 year war on Earth. Yeah, I want to see what directions the franchise takes from here, and I hope that the just amount of kind of groundswell that this series got. I hope that Bandai is paying the fuck attention, or maybe more accurately, I hope that Bandai isn't paying attention and just lets its directors continue to make good shit and stops meddling. But that's neither here nor there. This is me fiddling with the little tiny stickers, which again, even with the tweezers, they're so small. They're so little, and they have to go in these little kind of crevasses. So you get little like glowing bits in the side of the shoulder. One other thing I've been looking at is something called panel lining, which is essentially just using a variety of very thin colored markers, for lack of a better way to put it, I think there are other ways to do it with like full on paints, but I'm fully content to use the color marker method to go through all the various seams uh, on these various kits and kind of darken them in with the appropriate marker color to create like shadows and illusions in those seams to give the whole model kit a more realistic feeling, so that it doesn't look as much like a plastic model. It looks more like adding a layer of realism to it, just by kind of painting over those lines and deepening them with color appropriate shadow. So I may look into that in the future and go over the kits that we've already made, and see if we can kind of line them over the fact. So we may have more streams yet in the future that won't be new model builds per se, but just essentially going back over the ones that we've already got, and kind of modifying and enhancing them. I don't know. We'll see. These kits have just been they've been very fun to build, and I don't, as much as I enjoy just sort of looking at them, I don't necessarily want them just to sit on the shelf forever. So any excuse I have to kind of take them down and tinker with them a little more, or even just learn more about like ways to improve on these kits, is fun. And then one day maybe I will go all the way into kit bashing, which that's I don't even want to speak that into the universe, because if I start down that road, I may never stop. But for now, at least, I'm content with the kits that are already out there. Kit bashing, for anybody who's not already familiar with the term, is essentially just taking pieces of different kits that were not intended to work together, and finding ways to customize and combine them in a sort of Frankenstein sense, into a new one-of-a-kind model kit. And sometimes it's adding other enhancements from completely outside of the parts, but usually it starts from combining different series into one, again, kind of Frankenstein Gunpla. Which, again, I think is a very cool idea. So much so that I think it's a dangerous sort of exercise for me to get into, because I don't want to find myself grabbing kits just for the parts. It's enough that I have to talk myself out of getting new kits just to build the kits. If I'm looking at it going, ooh, that's a nice like backpack on that one, or ooh, this one's just a cool head. It's like, no, I don't need to get into that level of collection with these just yet. But maybe one day. It's a neat idea. I like looking at the kit bashes that other people have done, the creativity and the cleverness that people get into with it. To say nothing of like the lighting rigs that people do, where they will replace the default like eyes or things like that, and actually put LEDs inside of these, even some of the smaller model kits, and wire up battery packs and things like that, so you actually have glowing eyes, is some incredible stuff, and could be a lot of fun to mess around with down the road. But that's I'm not anywhere near that level yet, so I'll just look on with envy in the meantime, and be very impressed by what other people have done with it. For now, I've just been enjoying building the kit as prescribed. I did like how this one had stickers that kind of went on like part of the leg in this case, and I was worried when I was putting it together that it might be obscured, but it's set up so that it's essentially it's a sticker on where the hamstring would be on a human, and it actually shows up brilliantly once the model is actually on the stand and posed. It was one of those where I was kind of looking at it going, where on earth are you going to see this? But once the actual model is put together and in motion, then the sticker placement makes a lot more sense. I think the other thing I need to noodle around with at some point is like lighting and things like that for where these are going to live. Because I don't want to go all the way to making a whole, like, I don't know, panorama, is that the word, for where they're at. But I wouldn't. I don't hate the idea of just getting like a light so that they're not in kind of an awkward spot, because they're just sort of on a bookshelf right now, and I don't hate the idea of putting them in a more visible place that kind of shows them off, which would be nice. They are ultimately kind of a vanity project, although as much as the build is fun once they're put together, it's like, yeah, but then I kind of want them to be seen, if only by me, so that I can smile every time I walk by. I think somewhere in here, if you look at where the step number 10 is on the instructions right in front, there's a very small little gray piece that I lost track of for a little while, and finally found, which is like the kneecap, I guess, of the mech. There are a couple of moments in here where the very small pieces got snipped, went flying, and then minutes later I would find that they had actually landed on the instructions, but because they're the same gray as the black and white instructions, I had no idea where they went until I just happened to put my hands down and be like, wait a minute, that paper feels like plastic. Which is a strange way to find things, but we'll take anything we can get. So we already got one leg, and you can kind of see the thickness, how it's almost as thick as like the body as a whole. The difference between that and like the arms is dramatic, which was not as much the case with like the Death Scythe Hell model that we put together. But it really does help with the balance in particular, especially for models that have like the large backpack and the wings and things like that, because if they've got more of the weight below the waist, then they kind of settle on the stand much better. And this is more playing around with stickers. And forgetting to put them on the camera. There we go. I don't, off the top of my head, know of any models that this is true for, but like one thing I've enjoyed with these kits so far is that because they're all symmetrical, usually once you've done one part of a construction, you can then go, okay, and then repeat it for the other side, and then it's just a matter of making sure you've got the pieces faced in the right direction. But like once you've done one arm, doing the other arm is just going to be repeating what you just did it for legs and things like that. I don't know off the top of my head how many like asymmetrical models there are out there, but it would be kind of fun to look for one of those just to see, if you had very few parts to repeat from side to side, how different that would feel to build. But we don't tend to build a lot of things that aren't symmetrical just as a species, so I don't imagine there's a high demand for those. I'm sure G Gundam probably has some. It has so many out there designs. But not Holland Gundam, because it's just a windmill. Weird series, G Gundam. I don't even necessarily know that it's a bad series. It's just strange. As I'm working my way back through all the series that I haven't seen, I feel like I should probably rewatch G Gundam. Not because I expect it to be good, but just to remind myself how goofy it is. Because it really was, I think, just trying to be something else entirely. And it succeeded at that. But the one that I'm currently on is Zeta Gundam, which I think was the series that, in terms of release order, I want to say came out immediately after the original Mobile Suit Gundam. I might have that wrong. I don't have my list in front of me. But it is spicy out of the gate, and I kind of love it. I have heard tell that apparently series director Tomino himself apparently worried after the fact that Zeta went too dark, which I don't know what that's going to look like, considering how dark some of the other series have gone. It's like not Eighth MS Team. That one was fine, but Zeta was okay. All right, but I'll see how I feel by the time I get to the end of it. Uh, and all I know about Unicorn Gundam, which I think is the last one on my list, is that they're the Char Aznable in that particular series goes by the name Full Frontal, and I cannot wait to hear the explanation behind that one. That's going to be very exciting. For a very serious series, it's also a very silly series, and I respect that dichotomy. As we get the hips together. This was interesting because it had like sort of like side flaps that are just for if you swing the legs forward far enough. So it's almost like it has a very tiny skirt almost, but it was an articulation in a place that I didn't expect. Um, but it was very practical and very subtle. These are just kind of like I don't know what else to call them other than butt flaps. These were butt flaps. That'll make sense in a moment once we get everything constructed and the legs clipped on. But yeah, they go over the butt. It's kind of like Calibarn has a tail for a second. Once the backpack is on, it makes a bit more sense. But in kind of the uh, in between stage, and we get everything put together, and there we go. So we've actually got a proper Gundam with no weapons, and there's like the tail. It's like a little rabbit puff. All right, so we'll leave her there for a second. And now we get to work on the backpack, which kind of evens out the profile. When I was doing some of the other builds, I kind of got to the main frame and just stopped after that. But this one, it's kind of important to get all the way through, particularly the weapon piece, because it's also a big part of what makes Calibarn's design unique and sets her apart from both Ariel and Elfrith. So we had to go the whole nine. I also appreciated that for maybe because this kit came a bit later, the backpack also felt a lot more. I don't know if durable is the word, but the mounting felt more secure. Whereas some of the other ones of these that I've put together, the kind of the backpack construction and how it clips onto the main model ends up ultimately feeling kind of flimsy or just not as rooted, particularly when it comes to like mounting weapons and things like that. Those are the two beam sabers on top. So now you've got like the booster rockets and the beam sabers for close combat and whatnot are on top. It kind of makes, again, back to this sort of looks like bug parts. This kit came with a stand, and I can't remember. I don't think the Demi Trainer came with a stand. I can't remember if Elfrith came with a stand. I think I had to purchase one separately. But this one came with a stand, which was actually a nice surprise. And it was enough to be able to stand her up all by herself. But most of the kits require you to actually get like a stand separately. But this one, you can actually just have her hover. So now we've got much more of the proper profile with the backpack. Actually looks a bit more like the right frame. But yeah, the new backpack, or the backpacks on this build, even though it's otherwise very similar from Elfrith, just felt sturdier. And that was just a nice surprise, because I remember fighting a lot with the first one. It also has a shield specifically. Again, very similar to the Elfrith model that has all the Gund bits working together. And that was again, kind of a sturdier variant on the same thing, which I think worked out very well. So now we get some more stickers in as we're putting the gun together. The rifle part of the rifle is not really the important part here, although it's neat to go to a long gun. Uh, the gunned bits, which were also kind of a big part of Ariel and Elfrith's like signature design, the one that made this stand out even from the start of the series, don't show up super well. You can kind of see the shield design there, and where that would show up later. Um, in order to really show those off when it's on display, you need like a massive stand and a whole bunch of like individual stakes to hold each bit, and then like I kind of want like trails behind each to give the sense of motion as they swarm around. Could do all that. Could make the make it look all cinematic. Um, but there's something else to this particular design. One of the reasons I was really excited about this kit, and part of the reason I think I haven't picked up an Ariel kit, in part is because to really showcase Ariel, I would want that like Ariel surrounded by a swarm of gun bits, which would be a whole big undertaking, like diorama construction thing, and that seems like a lot. Whereas Calibarn has a design element that you can have on the stand that doesn't involve the bits, and is this piece that we're kind of working on constructing right now, at least before it all goes tragically wrong, but we'll get to that in a second. The back half of the gun is also a kind of large booster rocket, and when kind of fanned out or clustered together, it resembles a broom. They put the witch in Witch from Mercury, and I thought that was just a neat design thing right at the end. And then I fiddle with one piece just a little bit too much, and the tiny little plastic bar snaps. So we get three of the four put together, and then that one just not so much. It's fine. This is why super glue exists. We'll fix that one in post. But we get three of the four, and it's enough to kind of get an idea of what it'll look like. Um, but yeah, it means that her beam rifle is also a broom, and I just thought that was a cool note. So yeah, I just did the last of the bits and pieces to get the handle. This one also came with kind of like an extra brace. I don't know how else to describe it. But rather than just relying on like the hands of the model holding a trigger, kind of the I don't know, verisimilitude of just here you've got a little hand, and here's a little like replica of your gun. Let's put the whatever the trigger in your palm, and that'll be enough, which was never enough on any of these other previous kits. This one has like an extra rig that kind of slides invisibly under the elbow of the model, and then connects behind that to the backpack, so that the arm isn't actually what's holding the weight of the gun. The backpack itself is bracing the weapon, and then the gun that's gripping the trigger is just sort of superficially gripping it, but not load bearing, which was, I think, just a wonderful design decision that, particularly on a rifle this large, was basically a necessity. But it also means that the whole thing is posable in a way that it just wouldn't have been if you needed the hands themselves to also be doing the lifting. It would just list constantly in one direction or the other. So yeah, this whole kit is just very intelligently designed, and if I had just stopped fiddling with the little piece, it would have been it would have been a perfect build in one. And yeah, the stickers were also lovely. So yeah, we'll glue that on after the fact. Don't worry about it. But otherwise, yeah, that's our Calibarn. And it was a just a delightful kit, and it covered in little rainbow stickers all over the important activated parts, and I could not be happier with the finished bit. We're gonna go to kind of the final piece here. So there are some extra little like the gun bits that clipped onto the shoulders and onto the kind of jet rockets. You can see we kind of glued on the fourth piece here, so it's all attached. Yeah, just just a wonderful little build. Yeah, that's it. Thank you all so much. I hope you enjoyed watching this as half as much as I enjoyed building it. And we may do, like I said, we may do more of these, probably less in terms of the build front, and maybe more once I decide if I'm getting into panel lining or other such stuff to just kind of take the kits that we've already got and kind of take them to that next level of, I don't know, artistry, realism, whatever you want to call it. And we'll go from there. Thank you all so much. Have a good one, and I will hope to see you next time.